So the next thing you have to think about is, okay, I want to blog. So if you want to blog, you have to think about, how do you want to start blogging, and you need to think about the platform of where that blog is going to be. And you have two types of blogs out there. You have what we call a hosted blog versus software application blog. So what does that mean? Well, if you're on a hosted blog, like blogger.com, it means that your blog is part of their system. Okay? Now, if you have a blog that's a piece of software, then you can identify that blog and you can name your blog with a complete domain name. If you're in Blogger, you still have your domain, but it's part of Blogger. And so you don't get the SEO, you can't integrate that into your website. And so you're losing the SEO benefit, search engine optimization benefit. So what you probably want to do is you want to probably have an independent blog with a piece of software. WordPress is a piece of software that you could use, and then integrate that into your website. And then I'm going to talk about how to SEO that, if that's possible. But again, it depends on the platform. Now, open source versus vendor-supported software. How many of you know what open source, the difference between open source and supported? Okay, I'll just give you a quick overview of that. Open source basically is a community-supported software. What that means is people change it all the time. There's nobody that you can go to that actually supports that software. It's community-based. So if you have a problem, you go out to the community and you hope that someone has an answer or a solution and that they want to take the time to help you do that.
And it's free.
And it's free. Now, the vendor-supported software, by the way, which is also very inexpensive, it's not expensive at all, is supported by whoever you're purchasing that tool from. And typically what happens with supported software is it generally goes through generations of upgrades, and it listens to the people that are using it, and over time becomes better and better and better. So a supported software is definitely what is recommended to do, because PHP or open source, you also have to have it supported on a Unix server, so that's another whole thing about the hosting that you have to think about. Now, I put down a couple of top blog platform contenders, like iUpload is hosted, 6apart, movable type, WordPress. You can find different versions of these, other solutions, TypePad, Userland. But if you look on the blogosphere and you type in blog platforms, you're going to get all of these guys up there, and then you can figure out which one you want to go to. And then there's some reasons why you may go to different people. Now, this slide, and again, I'm having, Jim Rizzoli is so nice, and he's videotaping this presentation. So you'll be able to see this probably on my blog next week. So if you don't have the information, you'll be able to see it. But what this does is, this actually was a Forrester report. And what they did is they rated the blog software, and they rated it on the criteria of functionality, and and basically user performance. So basically, you can see the leaders, and then, like, for example, Userland software is not rated very well. If you look over here, you'll see that it's very weak to the strong ones, so that you have an idea of who's out there. And Forrester does do a good job of figuring out who's better. Things to consider before starting a blog. As I said before, one of the first things we consider, since we're an SEO firm, is it search engine optimizable? I mean, that's really the key thing, is can you, in fact, use it to promote your business virally? A blog is a viral, I think, just to let you know, the difference between a newsletter and a blog. A newsletter, you have a distribution list. You put an email address and you send it to that list. A blog has to be picked up virally. But that doesn't always happen automatically. You've got to do a little more to what I call give it legs. In other words, to give it legs, to have it start moving for you. Can you move over one? Because he has to have a direct, sorry. No, I think it's, sorry. So basically what I'm saying is, in order to give it legs, you've got to do some more. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about how that happens, okay? But so one of the things we look at is search engine, the marketing benefit. Can you SEO it? The other thing is individually branded versus integrated. So if you have a blog on, like I was saying before, on that blogging hosted software, that is not as good as integrated because you can't do a lot of the things you need to do on that hosted solution. So that would be a consideration. You have to think about that. So individually branded, you know, you have to choose a unique domain name. You host under a unique domain name. So for example, company blog spot.com versus www.company. So for example, if I did this, let's say I say AMP, I have to say ampblogspot.com versus amp.com or ampblog.com. So I can have a unique name, but I'm identifying that URL, so I can do a lot more with it. Okay? An integrated website blog is the entry must be visible on the home page and in the global navigation. So for example, what we're saying here is, if you do have a blog and it's integrated into your website, you want to make sure it's part of your navigation. People need to know on the home page, blog, and put it somewhere where you can click on it. Because otherwise they're not going to know that it's a blog. So it should be very visible because you want it to be visible. You want people to know that you have it. The second piece of information here, and we believe that this is very important, is you need to have the blog template match the identity. And we're a big believer in this. Anything you do, whether it's a newsletter or whether it's a blog or whether it's a video, should have your identity on it. People need to know who you are. So we suggest that you set it up very similar to the branding of your website. So your blog looks like your website, and then your creative is around that. So that again, because it's all about branding, it's all about every time someone sees you, you want to identify that it's you. So that it's you know, and of course, if you do the integrated one, you can do all that.